So after collecting all the raw ingredients and making my chocolate and all of my fillings, I now have everything to do the final assembly of my chocolate bars. So I'm here with Dani Stein, a chocolatier who's going to help me out, and hopefully this will all work out. Can you tell me a little bit of how you got into chocolate making?
I actually started as a savory cook and was told that I should maybe think about other career paths. And because I'm too stubborn to do that, I decided to just go into pastry instead. And through my program at the French pastry school, really learned that chocolate was my passion.
And I hear you even have a tattoo of a cacao pod.
I do, yep, on my arm.
So you're a bit of a fan then?
Just a little. Yeah.
All right, so my plan is to try and recreate several popular candy bars like the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, Nutrageous, Butterfingers. Is that doable?
We can do it.
All right, so should we start with the Reese's first?
Sounds great.
Okay, so what's the first step?
So the first step is to temper the chocolate so that we can make the shell.
And we need to temper it again?
Yes, because we'll actually have to liquefy it so that we can make the shells. Once we've done that, we've taken out all the stage 5 crystals and we'll need to reform them.
So if we didn't temper it again, it would have a bad texture then?
Yep, it'd be super soft.
After several 10-second bursts in the microwave, I attempted to temper the chocolate the way Peter had taught me. Unfortunately, my skills haven't gotten any better. And I was failing to properly temper it. So I let Dani take over. With the chocolate all set now, we started first with the peanut butter cups.
And then we'll just fill it most of the way. And go ahead and turn them over. Shake it if you can.
Looks like I've been playing in the mud all day. Your hands are surprisingly clean.
Yeah. Like everything, takes practice.
For the peanut butter cup filling, Dani recommended adding some of my cocoa butter to help the filling set more solid. Thank you. So then we just pipe them in.
Yep, and you want to leave about 1/8 of an inch from the top.
Okay.
Yep, and then we'll just let these set.
All right. And the peanut butter will harden?
Theoretically.
Theoretically. Well, the peanut butter filling set, we moved on to preparing the Nutrageous filling.
We'll just actually mix the peanuts and the caramel, and then we'll form them by hand into logs.
Big gooey mess. Doesn't that look delicious?
Take a little bit in your hand.
It's an interesting texture, kind of feels like a really messy sneeze.
So they're not holding their shape well enough to dip. Ideally, we would not put it in any kind of freezer or cooler, but sometimes you can get away with it.
What's the reason for not doing that?
So any moisture that gets into the chocolate will create sugar bloom, which destroys the texture of the chocolate and creates like a grainy texture on the top. Mm-hmm. So we want to avoid doing that if we can.
Okay, now what?
I think our best bet is to pop them in the freezer and see what happens.
Okay. I'm not going to touch anything.
Take them for you.
Okay, thank you. Well, the Nutrageous filling chilled. Next, we prepared the chocolate molds for the Butterfinger bars.
So we'll just take a ladle full of the chocolate, pour it in to each of the cavities.
And scrape them off.
Yep. Just try and push the chocolate in so that the cavities are completely filled. Okay. So now go ahead and whack it on the counter a couple of times.
Tapping the molds helps remove any air bubbles.
Go ahead and tap it on the... and scrape. And that's it. That's how you make a mold.
Cool. With the chocolate molds for the Butterfinger setting, retrieve the now more solid Nutrageous fillings from the freezer.
So in order to foot them, what we'll do is take a little bit of chocolate on 2 fingers, put it on the palm of your hand. We'll just smear it right on.
What is this doing?
So what this is doing is making sure that we have a nice base. When they do this in the factories, they probably use a thinned chocolate to make sure that you get in between all the little peanuts, because if there's air holes, the caramel will leak out, and that also dramatically reduces the shelf life. What we'll do is we'll balance the chocolate on the tines of the fork. So take it, bottom up, drop it into the chocolate. Then you'll flip it, make sure the entire top gets covered, and then you'll want to pull it out again. You tap it to try and drag as much excess chocolate as you can off of it. We want to be able to see the shapes left by the peanuts, if at all possible. We can't do it too long because then it'll stick to the fork. As it's doing, it's part of the problem with having our filling be semi-frozen.
Oh.
All right, and then one other option that we can do since we're, here at home is to just go again and do another round on your hands.
Yeah.
And we can get a slightly thinner shell since our chocolate is so thick. At this point, it's really important to make sure that there's no caramel or peanuts actually poking out of the chocolate.
Otherwise it would basically bleed out.
Correct. So next we'll fill the molds for the Butterfingers. Wax paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll trade you. You can do that with this one.
I think they got hard.
Yeah. Gotta move quickly. It's okay. They're like more like Buckeyes this way.
Right.
And we'll just let them set, and then we're done.
After having to travel 5,000 miles to the southern tip of Mexico, putting in 35 hours of labor, I finally have my finished candy bars. When I add up everything together, the total cost comes in at just over $1,700. In the end, it seemed like they all turned out a lot better than I expected, actually. You want to do the honors and try?
Sure.
Let's start with the dark chocolate.
Sounds good. Tastes like a Hershey's bar.
Yeah. All right, now let's compare it. That's very different.
It is very different.
It's got the smoky flavor from roasting over the fire.
Yep, it definitely has a really strong smoky flavor, which is unusual in chocolate. It's got a good temper. Yeah, overall I'd say pretty good.
All right, should we try the peanut butter cup next then?
All right.
That's a Reese's.
I like Reese's. I'm gonna eat the whole thing.
Try one of mine then.
So it's a little tricky to peel, partially because the shells are a little thin, and partially because maybe our temper wasn't the greatest when we did this one.
That's pretty good.
Really good flavor.
Yeah, I think similarly the chocolate has a lot better character to it. I think the filling might be a bit bland compared to the Reese's.
Could use a little bit of salt, but the flavor is really good. A little runny, and definitely not as sweet since we didn't have any of the powdered sugar to add to it.
Yeah.
But overall,
Yeah,
I'd say
I
pretty
like that.
tasty.
Yeah, they're very different. I kind of like mine more, I think.
I'm just gonna keep eating my Reese's. That'll be my my judgment.
And next we have the Nutrageous.
So what I like best about the one that we made is that the caramel is a really nice dark caramel, and it's got a really great flavor. It does have a little bit of challenges. It's a little bit crystallized, so the texture's not quite right, but it's really good. I did enjoy it more than the Reese's one.
Yeah, I thought it turned out pretty good. I think I might like mine a little bit better too.
Yeah.
And lastly, we have the Butterfingers. I like that. That's probably my favorite of all these store-bought ones. Let's try mine. It's very different because it doesn't have that distinct crunch. So like texture makes it very different.
Yeah, I do kind of miss the crunch that the regular Butterfinger has. But again, flavor-wise, especially with the homemade peanut butter, really nice. I think it just could have used a higher percentage of caramel to make it a little more crunchy.
So overall, did I do a good job or not?
Overall, you did a great job.
Yeah?
Yep, especially flavor-wise.
Great. Which one's our best?
I enjoyed your Nutrageous the best.
Okay.
Thought your chocolate was quite nice. I really liked the flavor in the Reese's. I'm afraid the Butterfinger lost, but it was still very good.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening experience. I really appreciate all the help you've been able to get me. I don't think I would have been able to do it without you. Thank you.
You would have figured it out.
Don't miss new episodes of How to Make Everything. Subscribe now, then check out some of our other series.